All right, good evening. It is Wednesday, and that is time for the Do Something Indy show. And I apologize for the late start. We are going a little bit later tonight because we are finishing up the remodel on our house. We finally got that started, and my lovely framers decided to cut the power to half my studio up here. So I've had to run cords and get things going. And you know how that is. The show must go on. But tonight, the title of this is I'm tired of your butt. And you're like, what's that about? Well, I'm tired of your butt. I'm tired of my butt because I have seen so many people complaining about this person or that person. They say, well, I'm sort of behind them, but that guy's just not perfect. But this person did that. It's like a bunch of 2-year-olds driving in a car or on a bus saying, he touched me or this, that. I'm really tired. I'm really tired today because it's been a very long day and I've been frustrated with these technical problems. But the bigger picture is what's happening with our society right now. And I think what it is, I don't think it's really racism. I think it's more of a lack of understanding how other people feel. And we're so enthralled by our position that we just have to get it out there at all costs, scorched earth. People are out there finding memes to support their side of it. And trust me, social media has plenty of memes to supply whatever position you want to take that you could use against somebody else. So tonight's show is going to be about the Black Lives Matter protest that was downtown. I was able to go out and interview a couple of the leaders of the protest, as well as a friend of mine that is about my age that has an outside perspective as a citizen. And I think this is a very good show. And I think it's going to give you some perspective through somebody else's lens of how their lives are. And I think this is a time for this right here. It's a time to listen. Let's listen to the other person and quit trying to formulate our response before you're even done listening. So I'm tired of your butt. So let's get your butt over here and listen to these interviews and open up your heart and your mind to how somebody else feels about things. And let's see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and roll. This is going to be 2 parts tonight. The first part is a couple of interviews, and then I'm going to interrupt it in the middle because Alan decided he wanted to clarify his position. I said, well, hey, we still got plenty of tape rolling here. We'll get on it. And then we'll be followed up by Tim's. But then I will come on after the first part of this. I'm going to have the second part, and then we'll close it out. So let's see if I can push the right button here and see what's going on. Hello, everybody. This is John Schmitz with Do Something Indy, and I have a really special group of people today that are, I don't know if you've heard, but they've been doing a few things out in the community. And yes, there's probably some controversial actions in this, but what I want to do is I want to bring their perspective to you so that you know what this is about, because I don't know if you noticed, I don't really look a lot like you. And a lot of my friends that are my age, they don't understand why people are protesting. So I'm going to let Erica introduce herself, tell us about her and how you got involved with it.
My name's Erica Haskins. I'm with Black Lives Matter Indy 10 here in Indianapolis, and we are basically protesting against the system. It's unjust. 30 days, a little bit over 30 days ago, John Reed was killed on 62nd and Michigan Road, and we have not gotten too much information on his murder after that. We don't know whether the police officers are going to be held accountable. We don't really know too much. The family doesn't know too much, so we're demanding answers, and we're demanding for the system to be reformed.
So just to be clear, this is not just about the George Floyd.
No.
This is about something that happened 34 days ago.
Exactly. This happened before George
Yeah,
Floyd.
and it was sort of not really it's sort of, would you say, swept under the rug?
Definitely.
Yes, and I know for a fact that the city didn't even reach out to the family for a week,
And then 2 weeks later, after demanding to meet with the mayor, they did. And it was, they just don't have the answers.
Right.
And so not only are they mourning the loss of their son,
Right.
but they are just so confused with answers, and very hard to put yourself in that position. And so when did you've been involved from 34 days ago, pretty
Right.
much, right?
Right.
And so how did you decide that you were going to take this a month late? How did you decide that?
Well, I was convicted to it because it happened in a neighborhood that I grew up in, Pike Township. That's my district. So I was committed from day one. And 30 days later, we still have no answer. So I have to stay convicted and stay energized with this until we get justice. The mayor hasn't even spoke with the family, hasn't acknowledged the family. And they haven't even said whether or not they're even going to charge the officer with murder.
Yeah, and what really confused me on this, and as basically somebody outside that's trying to be empathetic and sympathetic for what's going on, they come out a month later and say we're going to finally, get somebody to look into this. It just seems like it's not very important, does it?
And not at all.
And so now let's jump forward to the basically the riots a little bit over a week ago, and how you guys fit in that, because what I've noticed is there's several different groups, and you don't want to be involved with some of those people, and because you don't want your message to be overshadowed.
Right.
So tell me how you were able to get your folks, to understand that.
Well, pretty much the people that come out for Indy 10, we got a different coalition of groups that we all come together and we show up. Now, the riots weren't started by Indy 10 or anybody in our coalition, but those are what got the mayor's attention. So I can't say that we condemn the people that started the riots, but we did not start them. And those people, they are now with us now, but they understand that right now we want to hear the quiet after the storm. We want to hear what they have to say after the riots, because now we have their attention.
Right. It's about the noise, and
Right.
I have some friends. I was just talking with George. It's a business owner down here, and I know the person that owns the Cohen's Ice Cream, and different, and Tom Sutton over at Coach's Tavern, and they're like, wow. What we would say, that's collateral damage.
It is. That's exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. We don't want to have to for it to resort to that. But because we love Indianapolis just as much as anyone else does. But when you're not being heard, and when things like this get swept under the rug, you leave the people with no choice but to take action. Now, when you go back in our history and you think of any rebellions or any wars or the Civil War and the Whiskey Rebellion and the Boston Massacre, that started from an angry group of people that got tired and they said no more. So then that's when the destruction happened, and the fires and the riots, because they were being unheard.
Yeah, and I would say that, now that Colin Kaepernick has come up with, taking a knee, and that was really a warning. That was a warning that we need a reformed criminal justice system, and we'll get into some of that stuff. I'd like to probably talk to the next people about what that desires are.
Right.
But a lot of people that look like me, they don't understand this. So I would like for you to, if you feel comfortable about explaining white privilege, what it is and what it is in your eyes, because a lot of people don't understand that. They just don't get it.
Right.
So the best way you could do that, if you feel comfortable.
Well, to put it in perspective, when we say white privilege, we can just look back on the Drajon Reed case. He took the police that same day, the same high speed that he might have took the police on. A group of white kids did the same thing, and they damaged things, they damaged property, and they got apprehended. He got murdered.
Yeah, and that's very good example of that. One of the examples that I know, I have a friend, Damon Maxey, and we were at Tyree's place serving the homeless, and he had gotten pulled over, and what my people like me, when they get pulled over, they worry about well, my insurance is going to go up.
Right.
But that day, Damon was worried about if he was going to be dragged out of his car.
Right.
And I know pretty much everybody I know has a story of that happening. So Yeah, is it all across the board? Police, shake people down. I've had them do that to me, but I never had that in my mind that I might be killed.
Right.
And I think that that's what people need to understand.
Right.
Is that, hey, this is a different perspective.
Right.
It's not. You can't look at it through your lens.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at it through Erica's lens. Let's look at it through your lens.
Right.
So, with that being said, what would be your goal in this? Because I have a friend that says, "What happens when the dog catches a car?" It's like,
Right.
hey.
The goal is to reform the system. I don't know if you've seen this lately, but we have the list of, we have the use of force right here, and going over it's a lot of gray area, and it's all subjective.
Yeah,
it's very subjective.
Very subjective to
And-
color.
Right.
Yeah.
And whether or not you want to pay attention to these things, you might feel like you need to shoot some. We could be partners. I might not feel threatened, but you do. So our perspectives are different.
Oh, yeah.
Now I have to go along exactly what you do because you killed someone, and I'm your partner, and I didn't feel the threat, but you did. So I have to back you up.
And it's all boom,
Right.
boom, boom.
Right. So I feel like we need to review the use of force policy, and the mayor said that he did, and we want to know what did you do? What did you do to change? What changes did you make? He said that he wanted to use California's as something that he would adopt for Indianapolis. Well, we want to know what do you want? What parts?
Well, what I say is, why do we need to go to another state? We go to another state to get red line buses. We go to another state to get this or that. And we go to California. We are supposed to be leaders. I mean, Indiana is, we are innovators. We might be in the middle of nowhere, basically.
Right.
But why do we have to go do that? Let's get with people that are actually living this stuff,
Exactly.
sit down, talk about it, and get going. And that's why I'm really impressed with your devotion and you're staying with this, and the fact that your message is not being diluted by the violence. I've seen you guys out. I've been out. You probably seen me on my bike and whatnot. That crazy white dude on the bike. Yeah, that's me. and I've been watching.
Yeah.
And I see that when somebody starts getting out of line, that there's people there to say, hey, you're diluting our message. Our
Right.
message is what you have there.
Right.
And I'm going to list what those are.
Right.
And that's a good starting point. A very good starting point.
Yeah, we don't want our message to get lost in the destruction, because when you start being destructive, people stop listening.
Oh, yeah.
So we want you to hear us. We want you to see us, of course. That's why our movement it's not peaceful. It's disruptive, but we're nonviolent.
Right. And that's what I want to get a lot of my friends that live in the donuts, that live out there. This is to help them understand
Right.
what's going on. And I plead with them, come down and march.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I've been right up in the front with y'all. I've never, no problems.
Right.
I mean, it's like everyone's accepted in this. And one of the things I have noticed is there's quite a few white folk out there marching.
And we love them.
It's like so.
Yes. And they do step with us. They do.
And this is, I've been around Indianapolis for about 60 years.
Uh-huh.
This is the first time I've ever seen the multicultural people out. And I really think this is a time where we can make some progress.
Yes.
And what I'm going to say is it might make some people that are looking at this going, well, what's he interviewing her for, or these people?
Uh-huh.
You're the people that
It's
are
wrong.
going to get in our way. You're
Right.
the people that are standing in the way. You don't want peace. You do not want peace. And what's one of your sayings? No justice,
No peace.
And
If we- no
yeah.
justice.
So I'm going to have you explain. Let's have you explain that one. What that's about. So I want to go through these line items, and I'm going to have the other folks talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
What these sayings are that you're saying, and what they mean, because some people just
No
don't
justice, no peace. When we say no justice, no peace, that means we're going to be through these streets. We're going to parade through these streets as long as we have to, in order for the mayor or whoever to listen, in order for change to come. And like you said, we're multi-generational. We have multi-cultures out here with us, and that's a start.
Oh, yeah.
That is definitely a start, and we love them. We love everybody. We encourage everybody to come out, children, everybody. And when we say no justice, no peace, we just mean that we're not going to stop until we're gonna block traffic. We're gonna lay down in the street. We're gonna take a kneel. It doesn't mean that we're gonna break things.
Right.
It just means that you're gonna be late for work.
Yeah,
You're gonna be late going home.
And the time for breaking things passed. And one of the things I want to touch on that is the fact that, okay, there's a season for everything.
Mm-hmm.
The message was made with the breaking and riot and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have demonstrated peace for ever since then. I've been out with you, and you don't even break a blade of grass. You know, when you guys leave a place, there's no trash there. There's no reason for this panic other than the fact that, yeah, we got burned and we weren't ready.
Right.
But now we're going to board everything up, and we don't trust you to not break it again. You know, that's the message I get, and I catch a lot of heat from that
Right.
because they're like, well, they should pay for this damages, and they, you know, blah, 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 blah. Where are we going to go from here, folks? Is this going to be off or not?
But
So-
the thing is, we're like you said, we don't break it. We're done with that. And if anybody's marching with me in Indy 10, they know that we are done with that. We're done with breaking things and vandalizing. We might chalk, we do chalk, and they come in and wash it away. But we're gonna block the streets.
Yeah, let's touch on that for a second, because up at the Northwest District, that whole parking lot was chalked in. And you know, I'm a psychologist, and I look at how people mourn in their different ways, and I just looked at that as a way for every individual to express what they felt.
Yep.
And you just said they washed it away. It's almost like write it down, and send it out, and that
Right.
takes that hurt out.
Right.
And these are the type of things that I don't think any media covers that. They don't cover the hurt and the pain and the suffering. I mean, you've been out here for over a month.
Right.
And that shows commitment to this, and you're doing it the right way. And now I'm going to urge you to go to the next level in the politics of things, and that's when things get done, when
Right.
you get into that system and fixes that system. And so we're going to have some people that are going to bring some more legitimacy to what you're trying to do, because
Okay.
you've shown that the peace can be made. Now, what are we going to do when the dog catches that car? You know, we're not going to just chew on the fender.
Right.
We're going to take the car and drive it away.
I feel like, and we should include the community.
Yes.
With these changes in the system, we need a board from the community that we can relay these. We got to work together as a unit for the system to be changed.
Yeah, and I love your ideas. I love your enthusiasm, and we are going to push this hard as we can to get some change. I don't speak for my people, you know, as you don't speak for all of your people.
Right, right.
But we can change the narrative. We can change the narrative on both sides. There's those extremists on both sides that
Right.
hate each other.
Right.
And we're in the middle.
And it's blood on both of our hands.
Oh yeah, and we're in the middle, and we have got to do this. So I mean, it's time. I like I said, I'm not getting any younger.
Right.
And before I close my eyes for good, I want to see more unity. I
For
want to
sure.
I want to be able to close my eyes for the last time and say, you know what, we're
Exactly.
going on the right track.
And I'd like to meet a lot of these people that come out with us from different cultures and generations. I like to see them on a different occasion and an ice cream social, not fighting for people's lives all the time.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, there's a season for everything. There's a season to fight, and there's a season to mend and to heal, and we are in that season. And then we're going to be in that season to repair, to get these rules, these laws, these ordinances, legislature in place. So, Erica, I appreciate you sitting down with me. You're going to give me a hug,
Sure.
all right? Yeah. And, you know, everybody, you can get involved with this. This is a real deal here. These are the people that are going to make a change. These are the young people that are our future. And if you miss this opportunity, shame on you. All right, good job.
Thank you.
I got a little goosebumps from that. All right, now I'm here with Alan, and he is actually one of the leaders of the protest that's been going around that you've possibly seen on the news, maybe at the mayor's house. Were you down at the mayor's house?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we're going to find out what his perspective is and how he got involved with this movement. So, Alan, go ahead and tell us something about yourself and how you got involved.
Well, of course, my name is Alan Humphrey. I served in the military. I joined the military when I was 17 years old. So I'm very militant, very standby, very stick to the code, do not sugarcoat. I don't do any of that. How I got started actually started with the young man, Dre John Reed, that was killed on 62nd in Michigan by the Indiana Metropolitan Police Department. An unarmed black man was killed, again on 62nd. His life was taken, he was murdered, assassinated. And that brought me to the situation where I met Indy 10, Black Lives Matter. And from there, it's just been growth. It's been growth in how we move and how we step. And where we go. We're just tired of asking. That's where we're at.
Yeah,
right
and you're really finding your own way, because like I said, I've been coming out. I've been up at 62nd Street. I've been up at the Northwest District with you. I've been down here a few of the nights, and I've seen the group grow and mature into something that I think can actually make some noise now. And I know that you're one of the leaders that sort of keeps the peace and keeps things going in the right direction. And you're one of the guys that has some of the leads some of the chants that you hear when they're walking. And I want to talk to you about the police and what your opinion is of the police, of the management of the police, and maybe of the mayor or whatever. So let's start with the police first. What is your, like, just an average officer, not the person up above, but just what do you think about that officer?
All right, the average officer. Like I said, I'm gonna start with this. Not all officers are bad, but some of them they're bringing a lot of officers from Zionsville, Knightstown, Rushville, Carmel Fishers, Plainfield. They're bringing a lot of officers from cities or in Indiana.
The donuts.
Yeah, that don't know what a ghetto or a hood or a project look like. So only thing they see is what they see on TV. You know, Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood, Poetic Justice, whatever. That's the only thing that they see. So they don't know what it is to de-escalate the situation in the neighborhood that we're in. They don't know how to come to everybody that lives in those areas are not criminals. They're not gangbangers. They're not the opposition. We're not Menace to Societies there.
So, what would be a solution that you think would actually help? I think you touched on a little bit right there.
Solution. First of all, it has to be a solution for a 360 in the community. We can't ask for police officers that are socially conscious to the way I grew up, the environment I grew up in. So we can't ask for those and then don't put none out on the streets for that. We have to change our mindset of the police if we want the police to change theirs too. And that stands in one. But first of all, the change has to come. It has to come. It has to be seen. We're not asking anymore. It's like us sitting at a hotel and everybody is in this hotel room eating and having a party and drinking. And we knock on the door. They open the door up and we see the food in there. They throwing salami. They drinking. They're having a nice time. And they're like, hey, we want some food. They're like, nah, you can't get none. We knock on that door probably after a week. The song changes. Our tempo, how we knocking on that door is changing. Hey, we hungry. We want some food. We hungry. Feed us. After 2 weeks, after 3 weeks, after a month, we
kick that door down.
We talking about let us in, and we kicking it down, and we taking y'all food. That's the movement that we at right now. That's the spot. You know, they was asking with the Black Panther Party. You know, they was asking with the Civil Rights Movement. But we're in there. We can't let this go on no more. We're not asking no more. It's no justice, no peace.
Right. And one of the things I want to talk about is I see the F12. And that's one of the things that I see out there. Can you go into that a little bit?
I mean, I can only go in so much. As far as that situation, that's just due to the cultural injustice that we've been facing as people of color.
Now, what does the 12 stand for? I think some people don't know.
That's our code. I mean, that's just something we call overtime.
Okay.
It's not per se. It's
one specific thing. It's
just the way that they were treating us at that moment. I'm pretty sure a lot of my our older colleagues will be able to tell us or go into that a lot more. But
this is something that's been handed down basically.
We
and
developed
it's like,
that saying.
We're just going with that. What's one of the other statements that you say out there? I know that there's the no justice, no peace, F12. What's some of the others?
We don't get it, we shutting it down.
Okay, yeah, that's the one. It's something about change, shut it down.
If we don't get it,
shut it down.
We're shutting it down.
Okay.
And that's what's going on.
Basically, we're shutting down this intersection. We're going to protest here. We're going to be there.
We're shutting down the system. Like the system, we're not in democracy's way. Democracy's in our way. It has a cover as democracy, but really it comes across as a dictatorship. And we're not a dictated organization, a dictated country.
Right. Well, and it sounds like from a 1 to 10, how disconnected do you think the police are at that level to the community? 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the best. Let's do it that way.
A 0.
That's 0. There, I mean, and that's your perception. Now there'd be some people that look like me that might say, well, you don't need to be doing it. You know, you don't need to be doing that. Don't start none. There won't be none. But
Yeah, so
the problem is they can't see through your lens.
but the thing is, stagnation. Don't start. I don't like that saying. I grew up hearing that saying. Don't start nothing, won't be nothing. But in our community, we've been stagnated. We've been stagnant. When you're stagnant, you don't move. There's no progression. And that's one thing as humans, as mankind together, we are built on progress. Stagnation is not a part of the plan. And we just want to get the stagnant mentality out of that community, out of our community. And that starts with the police, the people. That starts with
opportunity and
Yeah.
just all those things that you feel are needed to advance your community. Now let's move on up to the next level. Maybe the people that are at the command center of the police. Do you think that there's a disconnect between the command center and the actual officers, or do you think they're pretty much in lockstep together?
They're a force. I can't speak on that. I'm not an officer.
I know. I was wanting your opinion on that.
as
If you
far
thought
as-
if there was any discord, if you think some police don't really agree with what they're being told to do, or you think they're just going right along with it.
To me, from the outside looking in, it's just
They're
they're
along
giving
with it,
orders
yeah,
and they're going along with it, which is unlawful.
Now, I did talk to one of the officers, and it was, and I can't mention any names because they're really instructed not to talk a lot of times. And I think that's the biggest pitfall we have here. You know, if you had an officer here to talk to right now, you could express your opinion, and he could express his, and we could get some stuff worked out. But right now we have this divide of don't talk to him. And, you know, that may be a fair statement because a lot of people are saying F12, you know, and these things.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, but trust is a two-way street, right? And I think that he actually said to me, what really caught my attention was, what do people think about us? Because they are in that world. They are not out here in the world.
They know what we think about them.
He did not know that, though.
It's a situation, is why, I get the question that he was asking is, why do they think that about us? That's the question that was really coming from his soul. Because they know what we think. They know we don't trust them. They know they're not in, as far as our community, us being a product of our environment, they know that we do not trust them. We've been beaten on, we've been scorned, we've been buked by them for so long. And it's not all cops, but once you have that badge on and you put that uniform on, blue is blue and black is black.
Yeah, we need to find out a color in the middle.
A common ground. Yeah, and it just needs to be humanity. That's all it needs to be.
Now, you've been around for a while. I've been around a little longer than you.
Most
Do you
definitely.
think that, I have the feeling that this is a very good opportunity to make these inroads. Is that sort of how you feel?
Yes, because I don't preach separation, and I don't want to be taken out of context. I don't preach separation. I don't like separation and hate. That's what I want to abolish. It has nothing to do with color anymore. It has something to do with separation and hate.
Yeah.
What are you preaching? Are you preaching peace to your community, or I'm not going to for far as saying that. Is it unity?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that keeps us away from unity is that we're afraid to say the wrong thing. You know, you see a group of people and you don't fit in. You know, when you're the majority, it's easy to be out in somewhere, but when you're a minority, it's harder to blend.
And that's natural. That's natural prejudice. Okay, that's one thing that is prejudice. You walking down the street, you see a black crowd, and you see a white crowd, you're gonna be more prone to go to the white crowd.
I don't want to tell you which crowd I'd go to. You'd probably be really surprised.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But that's still prejudice. Either way that you look at it, it's okay. I feel way more comfortable with this crowd. So hey, I don't really know those guys.
Yeah, and I'm gonna stand off.
And it's uncomfortability, whatever how to pronounce it.
So,
but that's how that goes.
Yeah, and I think what I've noticed that's really sort of lacking is showing mercy to somebody else, giving them a break instead of, man, you said what? And I see that's how it gets, and then it just sort of escalates from there.
It sort of escalates, and that's one thing that we got a problem in the community, in our community.
No,
that's not.
Well, but hey, trust me, I see that. That's what I'm really doing this for. I'll take that. Yeah, I love this conversation. This is awesome. This is the kind of conversations we need to have to be able to get through
as a whole
some of these things. And all I did was ask these guys to sit down and do this conversation, and here we are. Mm-hmm. Now, why can I do this and come down and feel very comfortable with you, yet there's these people that don't feel comfortable on both sides of this issue? It's almost like they don't want to come together. Do you have that feeling as well, or is it just me?
I mean, I feel what you're saying. I definitely get what you're saying, but I mean, the oppression is a strong tool, okay? And it brings fear, and it brings. I don't operate in that. That's why we're sitting down and we're talking, because we don't operate in fear. My grandma always. I grew up hearing God has not given us a spirit of fear. You know,
yeah, we earn that. I mean, when we're kids, you see little kids that say, I don't see that person as being black, white, or Asian or whatever.
But
and you've seen them jump a bike off a ramp that they can't. They're not. They learn fear. Our kids are taught this issue that we have here, and this is generational systemic racism, that needs to end. Mm-hmm. And the way we end this is dialogue and doing what we're doing right here. And I plan on bringing more people in that are like-minded, that want a change in this together. That is the goal of this, to bring us together. And then maybe we'll just sit down and have some food or something instead of yelling at each other. And I think that would be a lot more fun than this. But this is necessary. It's necessary.
It's necessary, but it gotta change internally and externally too.
All across the board. Yeah. I mean, the hearts and minds, not just some lip service and change it to laws. Let's come up with another program that doesn't work.
It's laws too, hearts and minds and laws
and all that. So, Alan, I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna give you a hug. I thought it was manly. You give a good man shake there.
Yeah,
all right. And I appreciate you telling us your opinion. Mm-hmm. And I think this really helps people understand the perspective of what you're going through. Mm-hmm. And your perspective may not be the same as somebody else's, but in general, I think you've expressed what the group feels. Mm-hmm. So appreciate you sitting down with me, and we're hope we can make a difference.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, that is the part one of the interview with Erica and Alan, and as you can see, they can explain their situation, their position quite well. And Alan, after we did this first interview, he came back to me and said, "Hey, I want to clarify our position." And I said, "Hey, I got plenty of film here in this digital camera, so let's sit down and talk about it again." So that's what we did, and then he clarified a little bit more of what his feelings were, and I could tell he was getting his legs under him during the interview and feeling more comfortable. And then we're going to talk to Tim Couch, a friend of mine. And we're going to look at it from us OG's perspective. And I'm still having technical problems, but we're getting through this show. And so let's take a look at part two. And then I will come back on at the end. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. I don't think I can see my live feed, but Lisa can. So I'm going to answer a few questions if you have them. I'll be glad to do the best I can. And let's enjoy the second half of this interview. I think you'll find it very enlightening. I want him to explain what the narrative is here on this.
The narrative, I don't want to be switched up. The narrative is we just want equality and justice. The narrative, I want the narrative to be it's still peaceful. I'm always going to give peaceful. I can't say fuck peaceful protest excuse my language, if I've never done it.
Right.
You know what I mean? That'd be that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I've been out with you, and I understand you cannot watch it on the news. You have to be out there with the people and see what they're doing and observe all those little nuances of this march. And I've been very impressed with it. Now we're here at the monument, and this is we're actually facing east, and right across the way here is MS Communications. That's WIBC. And I want to do a special message for one of the people that's on that show. This is Rob Kendall. He says, well, I don't really know what they're protesting. Abdul would be the same thing. What are they even protesting about? And you would say your narrative is...
Come out there and see.
Come out there and see, and we're about unity and justice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that difficult, right?
Yeah. Like, that's just one thing. Like, I can't say I'm a Malcolm. I mean, I can't say that I'm a I'm a Martin Luther King or I'm a Gandhi or I'm a Nelson Mandela. So, but you have to know, you have to educate yourself on both ends. Because what we're doing is putting the ball into their court.
Right.
And it's a lot of people that's our opposition. That's what we call the other side. So we're making sure the ball is in you guys' court, so you can do it as you please. Saturday, the 13th, we having Dre John Reed's birthday is on the 16th of this week of June, this month. But we're having something on the 13th, honorary memory of his life. And the city has granted us to take Michigan. So 62nd, I believe, from Fox Hill up. I think it's as much as we need, but we're doing something. It's not a protest. It's just
a get together. No justice,
no peace.
That's right. All right, now I'm here with Tim Couch, and he's an OG like me, and I want to get the perspective from somebody who's been around for a minute, and what do you actually think about this rally and protest, and how do you think this one may be different than what you've seen over the years?
Well, the first thing is, back in the day with the Michael Taylor shooting, it was pretty much all black people. What I'm seeing now, man, is like just different groups of people, man, Asian people, white people, just different demographics of people. Just, it's surprising to me, but I'm proud of these kids, the people that are doing what they're doing as far as protesting, which is their right to protest. I'm proud of them. So yeah. I've seen
Now let's go into your background a little bit. We've known each other for a little while. We actually met each other when I was running for mayor on the campaign trail, and I would say we've become decent friends, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And give us some background of where you grew up and how that went, brief.
Well, I grew up in Fountain Square in the 60s, and I can tell you it's a lot different than Fountain Square is now. As I was telling the young folks a few minutes ago, back when I grew up, if I got a glass of water out of my white neighbor's house, the cup had to go into the trash. You know what I mean? I've seen some stuff that these kids, although they've been through a lot more than I did being 16 and 18 years old, but yeah, it was a lot different. I mean, I thought my name was the little N-word boy in the 60s. My name wasn't Tim to them. The parents, they come out and they treated us totally different than what my kids were raised and my grandkids are being raised.
Yeah, and I would say that I agree 100%. I grew up, we started living up at 38th and Drexel, and then the white flight came in the mid-'60s, and we moved down to the suburbs, which now you'd probably consider that the donuts. You just move all the way out of the county.
Right.
And so I did not really experience that. I had black friends when I lived down there, and I wondered why, as a kid, when you're 6 years old, you don't know why you're moving. But then you find out later why you moved. You were part of white flight. And that really bothered me when I got older, that we had to move. I mean, it wasn't a matter of maybe, because the people that moved in didn't want you, and the white people that moved out said you didn't, you got caught in the middle. A little bit like we are right now. If you are to support this movement, you're scorned and shamed by certain people over here and by certain people over there, and you and me are a lot in the middle. I would say we're definitely in the middle.
I gotta say this, John, it's a lot different. I mean, going into grocery stores, man, in the 60s and early 70s, I only seen the front part where the candy was. I never got back to the meat in the store. You know what I'm saying? I had one path that I could take to my grade school. There was one street of black people, and that was it at Fountain Square back in the 60s and early 70s, and it was totally different. Like I said, now some of the people there, I'm happy to say we're still friends today, because they changed their mind, or they seen the different perspective on the way to look at, the way the world is. But they were taught that by their parents. I mean, just shaking a black guy's hand back in those days before we started playing basketball was a problem when the game was over.
Yeah. And so we've come farther than we think, but we haven't come farther than we think. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it
because
does.
It is definitely. I mean, I had people in my neighborhood when I grew up that they passed that racism on. I don't have a friend in my old neighborhood now because he was so racist. I couldn't I couldn't take it. It just rubbed me the wrong way. And this is one of those things where, hey, I got a black friend. That means I'm not rachist.
You know how I
don't
feel
ever
about
say
that.
to anybody.
You know how I feel
yeah,
about
I know.
that.
And we talked about the white privilege before. I want you to with your experience, tell me about that white privilege.
Man, I've seen that my whole life also, and John and I get to joke about it a lot, but it just happened Saturday. I was removed from a parking space. Some other people behind me, white people, got to park there. If you and I were to go into a grocery store, they'd follow you. You can steal all day because I go in there with a hat on and glasses. You steal all you want because there's several instances I could give you a white privilege right here in Marion County, Indianapolis.
And everybody has a story. I mean, you just have a story, and it's a perception that is there. And I think a lot of people that look like me don't understand that because they think white privilege is, oh, we had a better opportunity. Our daddy had some money, and no. What you just said is more what white privilege is. It's the fact that you are definitely looked at through a different lens, through the law enforcement, through, say, a banker. I mean, I could say a story about a black business owner that the bank said, hey, you need to get a CPA. Straight up. I'm not going to say who that is, but that is a true story. And that wasn't like 20 years ago. That was about 3 years ago. So you can see that's what white privilege is. It's not a matter of you had more opportunity because you lived in this area. It is the mindset of how people treat you. Is that fair?
That's really fair. I mean, I had rental properties before. I had 2 six-figure bank accounts before, and I go in the bank and couldn't get a $1,000 signature loan.
Yeah.
All right, there you have it. That is the perspective from 3 of our people that live in our community that really don't look like me, and I'm just trying to understand where they're coming from. And, I named this, I'm tired of your butt. And I saw some comments, but they're stopping traffic. That's against the law. But they, burned down part of the city. But nobody's listening. I mean, they are definitely speaking out, and this is not going away. So are we going to forfeit a chance here? I think this is a really good chance to make some breakthroughs on some unity and some race relations and some overall just being kind to each other. This is our time to do that. You can either be one of those people that's going to be out there not wanting to get involved with this and you just like to go on and hate somebody. That's your prerogative. But now's the time to get involved, and now's the time to get with some people that maybe aren't like you. My challenge this week is to talk to somebody that's not like you, that maybe you don't feel so comfortable around. Maybe somebody that, it's a bit of a struggle to try to understand. But let's stop putting out our garbage, and let's start listening to the other side with the intent of listening, not with the intent of coming back with I told you so or but you're this. So I'm tired of hearing your but, and let's get together. Let's make this happen. And I would love to see you out on one of the marches and just to come out and see it. So I hope you enjoyed this show. I hope it helped you understand a little bit better of what's going on. I know I learn something every time I go out and I make some new friends. So, Alan and Erica, we're friends on Facebook now, and I'm following Erica on Instagram. Erica is poetry. I mean, she can throw down some rap now. You need to check her out. And be nice to each other. Let's just be nice to each other. Let's see how that works out. Because being mean to each other, I'm getting a little tired. You're messing up my Facebook. I want to get on Facebook and see pictures of cats and food again. I'm tired of seeing everybody fighting with each other. So that's your homework for the week. Go out, find somebody to talk to that maybe doesn't look like you, and strike up a conversation. Thanks for tuning in. And tune in next week, 8 o'clock. Hopefully 8 o'clock on time. We'll have it together because today had been a little bit of a challenge on the technical stuff, but we got her together by the end of the day. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.